Hello and welcome back, guys. We're here again and it's Tuesday. So today we'll be doing the inking from yesterday's video where we sketched this monstrosity out. And again, guys, it is the week 4 of Mutant Animal in the Mutant Animal series. And we're going to be doing a new series next month, so keep tuned for that one, guys. But today we're going to be inking this creature. It is a combination of a duck, a whale, and a cat, which was requested by the Art Hutch. And thank you very much for doing that over on Instagram. Again, guys, if you would like to join me, my name is Blut084, BLUT084 Art and Games. I'm here every single day on YouTube, occasionally on Mixer, but every day and night over on Instagram. Not only drawing, guys, I do have some games as well. We've got some VR games, and loads of other just general good games I like to play. I do occasionally play a soft game on a Sunday, so don't forget to keep tuning in and hit that subscribe button if you like my content. And guys, if you want to leave a comment today, you can do by hitting that live chat button. Otherwise, if you're watching back, then hit the comments down below. Scroll all the way to the bottom to find that comment section, and then leave your suggestion for another theme next month, as we're coming into the end of the Mutant Animal series. Yesterday we got a lot of this done, or the main sketch done, the idea or the shape of the animal. I decided to go for just get me there. I can get you in a decent shot there. I decided to stick with like a whale size yesterday, and sort of try and just incorporate a duck in there and a cat. The only thing I could really put with a cat was the fur and maybe the back paws. And I was like, okay, it's got to have some sort of feet because it's a cat. I could have left, and I was thinking to myself, should I have put those legs in? But the more detail I put into the legs, the more I like them, so I sort of just left them as is. I started to put a little bit of fur on the legs themselves as well, and I put the claws in yesterday off stream. A lot of things I did, a lot more detail. I put a lot more detail into it yesterday off stream because I did want to get it done, but I wasn't quite happy with what I finished off yesterday. So if you did watch yesterday's, guys, and you'll see the difference that I put in from yesterday. I added a few little details like the blowhole. I was going to have the blowhole coming out the top of the head. That just seemed a bit stupid because I was trying to keep with like a whale, and not just for the size, but the tail, I think, sort of does it for me. Anyway, that's actually looking really off. I didn't realize how off shape that is. That's too. I suppose I was trying for a depth, but that doesn't look right. We'll change that as well, as we're going to ink today. We'll change a few different details as we're going along, because I've got more of an idea what the animal should be sort of shaped like and what it should be looking like. Now I've done the final sketch yesterday off stream. So zoom in on there. I did try and get that duck in there as much as possible, but all I could really do was feathers. That's not scales, guys, that is feathers. It's the best I could do really for what I was doing. I didn't put a huge amount of detail on the feathers, so I thought it'd be better just to ink that first, and then see if I can do any shading colouring with that afterwards. Maybe over on the digital format, which I'll be doing after Wednesday, because Wednesday's colouring on the paper version, which will be tomorrow, guys, so don't forget to tune in for that. And on Thursday and Friday we'll be digitizing this one, and like we do every week. If you haven't been following me, guys, and you want to check out what digitization work I can do, check out in the playlist. We've done quite a few, or every piece that I do in this book from the very beginning has been digitized towards the end of the week, because I always start on a Monday with sketching, Tuesday's inking, and then Wednesday is colouring of paper, and we will go to digital and we'll go to the PC, and then digitize the thing. We can use a whole lot of different texture tools and so many different things that I just can't do on paper. I just don't have the knack to how to do them. But on the PC, there's always that aid. You can have what you need. I've got lots of different textures which I like to use, which comes in handy for fur. As you can see here, I've added a little bit more fur to the tail end of the animal, and did a little side sketch of what the animal maybe look like when it's emerging from water. Still trying to keep the whale shape with the tail, but giving it back legs and not wings, but feathered, what they called, fins, if you like. I couldn't remember if a whale had a back fin, so I left it off. Didn't really think it needed it because of the head and the ears from the pussycat. Let's find you there again. As I said, the duck bill, I try to keep that there. I try to keep the duck's bill. Give it a nose. I'm not sure if I'll keep that nose. It's making it look a bit dopey, but I kind of like it the way it looks dopey. And then I try to keep that shape there. That shape there is an actual bird, duck's head, and it does go down here, but without the ears, obviously. So I put the ears in to give it, again, another cat, because it was a combination of 3 animals, which is what I have been doing with the Mutant Animal series. There has been requests, guys, so if you are a fan and you've come over from Instagram and you want to see if I can draw another combination of a different animal, could challenge me, guys, and let me know in the comment section. I'm going to grab my pens, but before that, I'm going to turn on the playlist that I always have in the background. And again, guys, is Comic Historian, which is another YouTuber that, or YouTube company now. If you've ever wanted to check them out, guys, let me know in the comment section down below. Again, I will send you a link. Otherwise, check them out. They will give you loads of information in a moment. And yeah, we'll get going. As soon as my computer sound system decides not to work. It's crap. I'm using a stereo. There's my pens.
Welcome to Origins, where we go more in depth into the actual
like
origins.
I said, I listen to a playlist in the background
and
while I draw, and I'm going to be inking with my 7.0
The latest Justice
pen.
League movie just came out, and it would appear that they wanted to touch on his origins, but they didn't give you everything. Now, we're taking this story as the most recent version of his origin, as it was revealed in the Secret Origins comic book. As with most origins, there appears to be a few other versions, but this origin is just them retelling his original Silver Age origins and making it more current. This story is an account of his life, one that Arthur told his mother. Things didn't begin with Arthur Curry. Things began with Atlanta, Queen of Atlantis, and the lighthouse keeper named Tom Curry. It was a storm of the century, and Tom surely would have died, except that Atlanta saved him, and it was love at first sight. She moved on to land, and they had a child named Arthur. Eventually, Atlanta had to leave Tom. She had to return to her people in the ocean, and she didn't explain anything to Tom. Basically just said, take care of Arthur and raise him for me. So Tom did just that, and he didn't hold it against Arthur either. He gave the boy everything that he could, and he gave him a happy life. But eventually, Arthur was drawn to the ocean, and the two quickly learned that Arthur had some very interesting abilities, such as breathing underwater and an increased ability to swim. Wanting to understand what was happening, Tom sought out help. He didn't know what Atlanta was, and he wanted to understand what his son was. But it was never for selfish gain. So eventually he contacted a man named Dr. Shin, a man who had been researching the Atlanteans for quite some time.
Yeah,
and as per their original agreement, Dr. Shin was supposed to keep the secret of Arthur secret. He was supposed to just help Tom understand everything. He wasn't supposed to share any of this information. Tom was doing this to ensure that his son would have a normal childhood. He didn't want Arthur to be treated differently. So he taught him kindness and compassion. He let him go to school. He let him have friends. And all the while, Dr. Shin did a lot of research as to what Arthur actually was and what his history was. And all of this changed on Arthur's graduation day. Dr. Shin wasn't evil. He didn't wish any ill on Tom or Arthur. But to Tom's shock, Dr. Shin intended to publish his findings on Arthur and the Atlanteans now that Arthur was 18. Tom just said it was too soon. He didn't want it to be revealed to the world yet. But Dr. Shin said that they had already agreed that he could do this when Arthur was of age. Tom began to break into a sweat and he began to feel dizzy, so Arthur helped him back to their home. Arthur's father appeared to just be fighting off a terrible fever, and he just seemed to need rest. So Arthur put him to bed, and he went off with his friends for the evening. But the moment that Arthur left, Tom went downstairs to Dr. Shin's lab, and he gathered up all of the research that had been conducted on Arthur. Everything that Dr. Shin had done had been kept in the lab that was in their basement, as per their agreement. And then Tom threw it all into the ocean, destroying Dr. Shin's life's work before his very eyes. This sent Dr. Shin into a spiral, into desperation, and he hired a mercenary to go into the home of Tom and Arthur and acquire a blood sample that he had hidden away a long time ago. The last hope that his work could be validated. While this was going on, Arthur was making it a bit easier for people
Sorry
to
guys, I'm here on Instagram just sending out a quick post.
Filmed and photographed so that he could save the people that
Sending
crashed
everybody
landed
I'm
an
live.
airplane into the ocean. The only other option was to let them die, so he had to do it. He had to show the world his powers. And since the world was now aware of him, he panicked and he ran back to his home. And he got there just in time to see the mercenary fighting with his father. Arthur knocked the mercenary out of the window, and while he wanted to chase the man, his father was severely injured. So he quickly brought him to the nearest hospital. Whatever happened in their fight, it left Tom Curry dying. And as he lied in the hospital bed dying that night, he told Arthur one thing: find your mother. Tell her this from me. And we'll come back to what he said in a little bit. Arthur left the hospital before the coroner's report even came by, and he didn't take off to find his mother so he could deliver the message. Instead, he sought revenge, and he wanted to kill the man that killed his father. It didn't take very long to find this
PlayStation
man,
continue.
and he cornered him on a fishing boat where he strangled him to death with his bare hands.
Sorry guys.
In front of his own son.
So his voice activated.
If Arthur
Sometimes
had
the
waited for the
playlist
coroner's
actually
report,
messes around with
he
it.
would have found out that this man never killed
Yeah,
Tom
sorry about
Curry.
this. Wait, I'll
Instead,
get on quickly.
Tom died from pneumonia. The infection had spread to his heart, and the excitement of the break-in triggered a cardiac episode. And none of that mattered now. The man whom Arthur killed's son, he decided to become a villain to get his revenge on Arthur. And the Black Manta was born that day. Arthur didn't know what to do at this point, as the world knew of his powers, and they all started calling him Aquaman. Eventually, he sought out others just like him, Atlanteans who were on land. And they brought him to Atlantis, to his home. It was here that Aquaman learned that he wasn't just the son of an Atlantean. He was the son of the Queen of Atlantis. And they welcomed him with open arms. But he wasn't ready to take on his role as the King of Atlantis, and he left to seek out artifacts and relic from his people. He wanted to learn about them, and he did it with a group of people that were just like him, people who felt that they didn't belong with their people, the others. This eventually led to him being on his own again, and he met and joined the Justice League, and he eventually met Mera. And now, he's the King of Atlantis, Aquaman to the surface dwellers, and a member of the Justice League. So why is he telling this to his mother? She obviously knew all about this. Well, she died long before he was able to ever get to Atlantis. And he was recounting his tale to her tomb, all so he could deliver the final message from his father, finally, after all of these years. His father wanted his mother to know that all that time he never stopped waiting, and he never stopped loving her.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. We'll now get on. I'm going to carry on listening to that and
Now, Aquaman's powers are wildly misunderstood. His largest power is the ability to telepathically communicate with marine life. This allows him to talk to them and tell them what to do to aid him. But it's been stated in the most recent run for Aquaman that he doesn't actually have conversations with them. He just tells them what to do, and they're not smart enough to actually talk back to him. Outside of that, he can breathe underwater, he has superhuman durability, superhuman strength, and he can swim at extremely high speeds. He can also see in total darkness, and he has a version of sonar that will help him navigate through such situations. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, and you can follow us on Twitter @ComicStorian, where we can chat all day and night about your favorite superheroes. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we're going to be going through the entire Justice League eventually, because they've all got their origins retold and up to date in Secret Origins, so why shouldn't we share that with you guys? I'm Benny for ComicStorian, and I'll see you guys next time.
ComicStorian, guys, check him out. I'll keep that going now. Now we're drawing. It's going to take me a while, so if you guys want to watch it all, prepared for a lengthy stream. Otherwise, fast forward to the end to see how and what we'll be digitizing this week.
Aquaman has a queen, and her name is Mera. She's not from Atlantis. Welcome to Origins, where we go over the origins of your favorite superheroes and villains. Today we'll be discussing the Mera origin as it was revealed in Secret Origins number 5. Mera is from Zebel, a city locked into the Bermuda Triangle, locked away from our world. It was originally used as a penal colony for the ancient group of separatist Atlanteans. But as time went on, the Atlanteans forgot about it, that it was lost. Time went on and Mera became princess of her nation within Zebel, but she had a greater destiny, to be able to slip through the rift back to the normal dimensions. Then kill the king of Atlantis, freeing her people. Her people have survived due to the ships that sink into the Bermuda Triangle. Those ships slip from our dimension and go into hers, where they are salvaged by the people of Zebel. And she is tired of her people living off of the dead. So her father brought her to the weakest part of the dimensional barriers and handed her a gift from her mother. It was a message that she should only listen to once she was on the other side. Using all of his strength and her speed, she was able to use a slipstream to slip out of Zebel and into the proper world. The first thing she did was swim to the surface and look at the amazing sun. This is something that she had never seen since she was locked beneath the Bermuda Triangle. But after the initial wonder of the sun wore off, she began her search for Atlantis. She didn't know where it was, and the ocean was quite large. So eventually she stopped to ask for some directions from some sailors as they were passing through. They of course had no idea what it was or where it was, but they knew that there was a guy in orange named Aquaman that was supposed to be the king of Atlantis. He saves passing boats and ships in the sea. If you ever run into problems in the Atlantic, he'll be there to save you. That was not a comment that she was expecting. The king was supposed to be an evil tyrant. That is why she needed to kill him. But the first thing she found him doing was saving orcas as they were having problems due to a fungal infection. Then as she approached him, instead of being evil or mean or abrasive, he asked her to dinner. She was taken back by his kindness and his willingness to help. So she went with him and they did get some local seafood, prepared a little differently than she was used to. He asked who she was and how did she have power over the water. So she explained that she was from Zebel. He asked where Zebel was, and if others there could control the water like she can. Suddenly, it dawned on her that she wasn't completing her mission, and she hadn't even heard her mother's message. So she ran from the table, leaving Aquaman to ask if it was something he said. The message from her mother was simple. Be free, get away from Zebel and live your own life, because you owe them nothing. Your independence is your true mission. Back in Zebel, you would have been forced into marriage, and you would be put to work as a quiet bride. That is not a life for you, and I want you to have more. Aquaman arrived at the end of the message, and he heard something about her mission. So he asked her, do you have a mission to complete or something? Mera turned and smiled. Yes, but it will take a very long time, I think. And the rest is history. Mera went on to marry Aquaman, and they have had a lot of adventures. I'm Benny the Comic Storian, and if you want to chat with me, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Comic Storian or Instagram at Comic Storian. And don't forget to check out our gaming channel where we do gaming comic books, unnecessary censorship, and various Let's Plays. It's Eligible Monster Gaming, and the link is down below. Thank you, and have a good day.
Nicorette Quick Mist, now in great tasting cool berry flavor. Love the new flavor or your money back.
Oh, I can't even skip it. Try to do some feathers here. I don't want to talk about not smoking.
Welcome to the Complete Story series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites for you to understand. And then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by the respective companies. As we normally do when a new movie gets released based on an established storyline, we give you the comic book version. So let me know if you read this comic and if you liked the movie or the comic version better. For me, the comic was so much better. One thing you're going to notice that is different is that this doesn't cover Aquaman's origin. Instead, it goes right into the war. As for placement of this storyline around all of the other stories that we've done, look in the description to see where it goes, but it basically takes place right after Justice League Origin. Things begin with what appears to be a mistake. A U.S. aircraft carrier was just testing out some missiles out in the deep ocean, and they launched those missiles into the air, and they immediately go straight down and into the ocean. The captain of the ship thinks that this was a programming error. The crew thinks that the missiles just need to get some work done to them. The Atlantis colony that they hit, they think it's an active war. While certain members of the Justice League are currently preoccupied, namely the Flash with a guerrilla invasion and Green Lantern being off-world, the rest of the Justice League is finally coming together as a coherent team. Batman is getting assistance from Arthur Curry, also known as Aquaman, who's being joined by Mera with an issue that he's having at Gotham Harbor, while Superman and Wonder Woman are beginning what will soon become a very strong relationship between them at a cafe in Metropolis. And that's when the alarms go off in Metropolis. The whole city blacks out, and a giant tidal wave begins to rise over Metropolis, carrying a massive battleship into Metropolis. This looks like a job for Wonder Woman and Superman as they quickly swoop in and literally catch the battleship and keep it from crashing and injuring anyone in Metropolis. Once they put down the battleship, they quickly begin to dart around Metropolis trying to save whoever they can. But there's one man, an older gentleman who is displaying amazing feats of strength and agility, who eventually passes out from the exertion, just as Superman flies in to ask, "Who is this guy?" Meanwhile, in Gotham, things are just as bad because the tidal wave not only hit Metropolis, but it's also hitting Gotham, coming through, drowning anybody that gets caught in it. Aquaman looks around all worried, and he says to Batman, "Atlantis just declared war. They're using the battle plans that I wrote up years ago." As the waves come crashing down around Gotham, everyone gets washed up and drowned inside of them. And over at the police station, Jim Gordon was standing on the roof with Harvey Bullock as they begin to drift off, struggling to breathe, somehow. And they realize this is the end for them. Just as Aquaman swims through the water, grabbing both of them, and he brings them to the rooftop where Batman is waiting. "We saved all we could, Jim," Batman tells him, and Gordon looks down as he asks, "How many didn't make it?" While they were saving all that they could, Mara started using her powers of water manipulation to try and push back the water into the sea. But it's just too much water, and it places a strain in her, causing her to have a nosebleed. As she begins to fall, Aquaman leaps into the air to catch her, and she looks at him and says, "You have to tell them. You have to warn the League." But Aquaman shakes his head. "I don't want to worry them yet." But Mara just says, "If this continues, it's a flood, a ground assault, and then they'll sink the city." Arthur looks around and he realizes that she's right. The floods have been devastating. Hundreds, no, possibly thousands have died in both Metropolis and Gotham, all from the Atlanteans' initial attack. Meanwhile, back in Metropolis, Superman scans the Mystery Man to discover that he is Atlantean, and he quickly sits up demanding to see King Arthur. He then sucker punches Superman and yells at him that we have no time to solve who I am, we need to find King Arthur. But Wonder Woman takes her sword to his throat, and she tells him to stop and explain. And he just looks at her and he says, "If Arthur was still king, this never would have happened." Back in Gotham, Mara begins to clear the streets one at a time. She can only clear the water so slowly. But Batman isn't playing around anymore. He grabs Aquaman and they decide that they're going to go straight to Atlantis. Too many have died today. Someone has to answer for this. But Aquaman tries to explain to Batman. They must have been provoked. The Atlanteans have very little interactions with the surface world, and their only interactions have been sailors slaughtering their people, nuclear testing, and people poisoning the oceans. If someone attacks them, they'll come back 10 times harder, but they can be reasoned with. But Batman just sternly tells him, "Arthur, they've killed a lot of people. I know these are your people," but Arthur stops him right there. "These are not my people." But Batman looks at him again, and he says, "What aren't you telling me?" Aquaman explains that when he first discovered his heritage, he spent weeks and nearly died looking for Atlantis. Eventually, he did find it, and his brother stepped down, allowing him to become the rightful king and take his place in the kingdom. But that's when the dissensions started, as there was a certain group within the kingdom that called him a half-breed, a surface dweller. So he began to try and become what they wanted, become the king Atlantis needed, by turning his back on the surface world. But that was until the day Darkseid arrived. Aquaman finally had a place to go, a place where he felt like he belonged, and he went up and joined the Justice League. After abandoning Atlantis, returning to it was going to be hard for him. And Batman acknowledges what Aquaman is saying, but he tells him, regardless of the catalyst, your brother needs to answer for the lives that he's taken, and the Justice League is going to bring him in. But just as they were starting to understand each other, the Batplane is hit by a ground-to-air missile, and it explodes. Both superheroes fall into the water, and Batman asks how they knew Aquaman was even with him. But Aquaman just says, "They weren't aiming for me. They were aiming for you. They're still using the plans that I made years ago, and even then, I knew you'd be a threat." Batman just responds with, "I'm flattered." Batman, Aquaman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all head to the Watchtower with Cyborg to figure out what's going on and how they can stop this. Superman has also brought along the Mystery Man, and Aquaman quickly recognizes him as Vulko, his ex-royal advisor. Vulko stood by Arthur, and due to this got himself banished from Atlantis. He's been on land trying his best to help Arthur where he can, through his reveals of the world, all the way to him considering taking his throne with Atlantis and then denying it. He explains that this must all be a mistake. Aquaman's brother thinks that this was an intentional attack on Atlantis, and he's just retaliating. Aquaman then explains that he knows, he understands, but he needs to talk to his brother to get him to end this. And that's when Superman jumps in to clarify. "You mean bring him to justice." Aquaman snaps. "My brother's not a supervillain. He's the leader of a nation." But then Wonder Woman even steps in and she says, Even if he's a ruler, he has a lot to answer for. So Aquaman asks for one chance, just one chance, to peacefully settle this with his brother. And the League agrees to give him that. So they wait, and eventually they see Orm, the Sea King, rise up in Boston. So Aquaman teleports down to confront him. Orm tells him that the Atlantean army is right there, beneath the ocean, waiting for his order. He is going to sink this city. But Aquaman tries to tell him this is all a misunderstanding. It was a mistake from the surface dwellers, and if he comes with Aquaman right now, they can resolve this. Orm just eyeballs Aquaman, and he yells at him, "This isn't a mistake. The surface dwellers are just careless. Let us sink this city, and maybe they'll forget that Boston even existed eventually." Before Aquaman can even say another word, though, there's a loud boom, and a boom tube appears behind Aquaman with Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Aquaman turns around shocked, and he says, "I told you I had this." But Superman tells him that the Atlanteans are moving around the city. "You have failed, Arthur, and we don't have time anymore for you to resolve this." So Aquaman looks at him, and he simply says, "You force my hand," as he grabs Batman by the throat. "If you three attack my brother, this entire army will rise out of the ocean." So Batman just says, "He flooded Gotham, Arthur. There were families trapped in their cars as they drowned. He needs to answer for this." Orm just looks at all of them questioningly, and then he eyeballs Batman. Are you their king?" So Batman blows a charge up in Orm's face. Everyone gets blown back as Aquaman charges at Wonder Woman, yelling, "You're making this worse! I'm trying to save both worlds!" But while he's dealing with Wonder Woman, Orm uses his storm-based trident weapon to strike down Batman, calling the surface dwellers fragile. He then strikes down Wonder Woman, forcing her out of her struggle with Aquaman, and he summons them. He summons the entire Atlantean army to the surface. "I'm done with these games. It's time for war." A few more blows are exchanged between the army coming in, and Wonder Woman finds herself overwhelmed. But that just makes Superman pissed. He swoops in and he rescues the woman that he loves, Wonder Woman, and he looks down at the Atlanteans and he tells them, "Atlanteans, retreat!" As he uses his heat vision and he begins to boil the very ocean that they're standing in. But Orm is not to be trifled with, as he calls down magical lightning to incapacitate Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. He then declares, "All four of you are sentenced to the dark waters," and he seals all four of them up and he launches them into the trenches of the oceans. That's it. The Justice League was defeated because all four of them are gone now, and the Flash is currently fighting off that guerrilla invasion back in his hometown, and the Green Lantern has been banished off-world and he's trying to save an entire galaxy. Check out those stories if you get a chance. But while this is going on, Cyborg has gathered up Dr. Shin, the only Atlantean expert on the planet and the man who revealed to the world that Arthur was Atlantean. And Cyborg realizes that the League is in trouble. Boston is going to be sunk by this army. So he puts Plan B into action. Every superpowered being that they've ever considered for the League gets a call to come in and save Boston. Deep down in the ocean trenches, Arthur breaks free of his prison, and he calls out to his teammates. And Batman answers, "Arthur, are you there? My suit is keeping me protected, but we need to get out of here." Aquaman doesn't argue. He knows where they are. Before Aquaman can start breaking out Batman, the creatures of the trenches begin to assault him. Monstrous creatures that dine on living flesh. Aquaman quickly dispatches these foes, and he realizes that Superman and Wonder Woman fell into the nest of these creatures, down into the deepest parts of the trench. Aquaman apologizes to Batman for what happened on the surface, and they both realize they're going to need to go deeper to find their friends. But that's when Aquaman starts discussing with Batman how odd this whole thing is. What if somebody launched those missiles down to Atlantis to start this war? What if this was intentional? Because somebody also recently stole a scepter from Aquaman that could potentially sink islands. This whole thing seems like a very odd coincidence. Back on the surface, Hawkman is destroying the Atlanteans by cracking their skulls wide open, while Firestorm is flying through trying his best to turn the water around them into helium in order to dry out the Atlanteans. And Black Canary is trying to stun them with her shrieks, and Vibe is riding with Element Woman to try and incapacitate them. But Hawkman turns to all of them with rage in his eyes and blood splashed on his face. "If you refuse to spill blood in war, you're all gonna die." While they're all doing this, Orm is having the Atlanteans plant bombs all over the city to sink it. And while this is going on, Batman and Aquaman are struggling to try and save Superman and Wonder Woman. And it turns out that the venom from the creatures in the trench has knocked out both of the superpowered beings. So that leaves it up to Batman, who can't get out of his cell without drowning, and Aquaman, who's the only person there that can possibly save them. But it's just too many trench monsters for Aquaman. He's being overwhelmed, and he has no way to keep the hordes back. Just then, Help arrives as Cyborg and Mara teleport in using a boom tube locked onto Batman's signal. But as they free Superman and Wonder Woman, they realize that all of these trench creatures have left. Aquaman comments on how odd this is. Orm's gonna blow up Boston. Somebody sent missiles off to start this war, and somebody opened up this trench that he sealed, allowing these creatures to go free. This whole thing was planned. Someone is behind this. But the bigger concern is, where are these creatures going, because they're controlled by the same royal scepter that Orm is going to use to sink the city, right? Well, back in the Watchtower, Dr. Shin and Vulko inform Aquaman. Orm is setting up bombs to sink the city. Bombs. He's not going to use the Trident. And that's when Aquaman puts this whole thing together. Orm doesn't have the royal scepter. That's why he's going to use bombs to sink the city, which means he also doesn't have a means to control these creatures, which means somebody has the scepter, set off the missiles starting this war, and is now controlling these creatures. Someone else started this. Someone who was sent into exile while they were looking for the real king. Someone the Atlanteans turned against. Vulko, Arthur's former advisor and Arthur's former friend. Arthur takes the blame for all of this. He left Orm in charge and he stepped down from ruling Atlantis. But Batman corrects him. Arthur, this isn't your fault. The war isn't your fault. This is why the Justice League is here. The war is our responsibility to solve. The Justice League comes in to aid their reinforcements, and everyone starts fighting. The Atlanteans, the Trench Monsters, and the Justice League. And they all start tearing apart the creatures from the trench and beating down the Atlantean army. Orm looks at Arthur and he tells him, no one would come looking for you. I built the army and the kingdom so I could come find you. And in the end, you found us. But then you denied the crown. I was willing to give it up for you and you turned it down. And you came back to your surface world. The surface world is a plague. All the while, Vulko is smirking as he watches. This is what he wanted. He wanted Arthur to finally take the throne. But Arthur says he was alone. He was alone on the surface world. And since he lived on the surface world, he was alone in Atlantis. That's why he never wanted the crown, as he breaks Orm's face mask off. Yield the throne, brother, Arthur tells him. And Orm looks up at his brother and he simply says, I yield. Arthur then stands over the Atlanteans and he yells, I am your king! The Atlanteans look up to him for guidance and Arthur leads the charge into the Trench Monsters. The Justice League, the Atlanteans, even the ex-King Orm follow the new king of Atlantis and they begin to push back these Trench Monsters. And that's when Vulko kneels before Aquaman and he gives him the scepter. He tells him, your scepter, sire. I started this war. And I called the Trench Monsters to the surface just to allow you to show your leadership ability and take control of your kingdom. I did this for you, sir. And Aquaman punches him, yelling, how could you betray me like this? I thought of you as a father. He then takes the scepter and he sends all of the trench creatures back to the trench. And that's it. The war has ended. The Atlanteans are now following Arthur. He is now their official king. So Arthur has them take Vulko into custody to serve trial in Atlantis for betraying the king. He also leaves Orm in the hands of the surface-dwelling authorities. Orm just looks at him in shock. But I yielded the throne to you, brother. But Aquaman just lowers his head sadly. And he says, you killed too many people, Orm. With that, Orm is taken off by the Justice League and Aquaman heads off to prepare to take his throne, as now is the time for him to fulfill his destiny as the King of Atlantis. If you guys learned something new or you just enjoyed the story, let me know by giving this video a like and follow me on Twitter @ComicStorian so we can discuss this storyline and any other of your favorite ones. I'm Benny for Comic Storian, and I'll see you guys next time right here. So where is Aquaman during the rebirth? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. And then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is a rebirth, a DC rebirth. It is not a reboot. It is a new status quo as DC brings back the things that you loved about your favorite superheroes and puts them back into the existing timelines. We're going to be showcasing select issues of the rebirth to let you know the starting points for a lot of these series. These are single issues, so they are short, but each of these rebirth issues is continued in the mainline book, which is now coming out. This is Aquaman Rebirth. To begin with, picture the world. A reality check can be humbling. It reminds man of his place in the cosmos. Picture the oceans. Their average depth is 2.5 miles. Their maximum, more than 7. They cover 2/3 of the planet. Compared to that, any man is insignificant, unless he claims the oceans as his domain and rules over them as Aquaman. Aquaman swims as fast as he can, asking Mera, "How far am I?" She reports back that the identity is confirmed. It is the deluge. Damn it, Arthur Curry says as he pushes himself to go even faster. You see, taking 2/3 of the planet as your space to protect isn't a small job. It's too much for one man, some would say. To be here now, he's ignoring a typhoon in Indonesia, a seaquake in Japan, and a migrant ship in the Mediterranean. Today, Aquaman's priority is the deluge. With that, he swims in, telling them, "Stop this now." And the man in charge sees him coming. "The king himself! No fealty now, deluge. We are sworn to this act." Aquaman dodges some of the shots fired, and he realizes that these are Atlanteans that have disagreed with his recent actions. "You are no king of mine. Where is your crown? You dress like a surface fool." Aquaman keeps swinging his trident at the enemies. "You're rigged for war. Let me guess, your plan is to level a city in unsuspecting America? The deluge has bided its time long enough waiting for you to act, king. You have not." As a creature of the sea charges into Aquaman, the leader of the deluge informs him, "The surface will burn for Atlantis." "Not for Atlantis. This is never for Atlantis." While this is happening, the people at the embassy for Atlantis are debating his actions. He is fighting against the Atlanteans to protect surface worlders, but Mera corrects them. Those are terrorists. They are not fighting for the betterment of Atlantis. Then she tells all of the units to hold unless the fight gets closer to land. To the world, Aquaman is a superhero, a member of the Justice League, comrade to Superman and Wonder Woman. But the Drylanders seem to think that he talks to fish. This is untrue. He has a telepathic gift that allows him to compel marine life. They are not smart enough to hold a conversation with him. However, this myth has made him a popular running joke in pop culture. To the few Drylanders that have seen his true power, there aren't enough to give any real credibility to the power of the king. Then we cut to a newsroom where we discover one individual has been explaining all of this to a news anchor. "So are you telling me, Dr. Taylor, that Aquaman isn't like the other supers?" "David, he's the head of state to a foreign power. That brings baggage with it." But back at our fight, which is happening as this news article is going on, Aquaman leaps out of the water with the sea creature in tow. He then punches the sea creature so hard that he knocks its teeth out, and the leader of the deluge hits the shore. With a few simple swings, Aquaman drops the leader, and he claims victory. Then as he wipes his mouth, he asks, "Why? The land enslaves us and you. Why today? Because tomorrow is too late." Aquaman drops him, and he tells Mera, "It's done. Send the drift quietly to secure the prisoners." Then, Aquaman meets Mera at Sam's, his favorite seafood place, and our news anchor continues. On the one hand, he is undoubtedly the man who believes that he is striving for a better, safer world. He is undoubtedly a superhero, a hero of the first rank. He is a king. Those on the surface see him as a punchline or a menace, and a large part of the Atlanteans resent his rule. He fights a daily battle to balance the always conflicting interests of his parents' worlds. He is a man of peace at war with everything around him. Even the fish don't actually talk to him. Mera tells Arthur that the drift rounded up all of the terrorists, and then some clam chowder is brought over to their table. Curious, she asks what it is, and Arthur tells her that it's chowder, so she tries it and likes it. Arthur tells her that if she doesn't like it, she doesn't have to eat it. He can tell that she's just tolerating the surface world for him, from the food to the land. "Of course, Arthur, you are important to me. I gave my heart to you. My fear is that you ask too much of yourself." But while everyone is looking at Aquaman's situation, someone is watching that news report, and he wants his revenge for the death of his father. Black Manta is ready to bring the fight back to Arthur Curry. And that is Aquaman Rebirth. Now, if you haven't been reading Aquaman, then you don't know how cool he actually is. He's one of my favorite superheroes, but due to the actual low level of his popularity, I've been kind of holding off on a lot of Aquaman storylines, and I don't know if we're going to do any more past this Rebirth issue, but you should definitely check it out, because Aquaman's a lot cooler than you're willing to give him credit for. And I know some of you guys are huge fans. I'm talking about the individuals who are giving him no credit. Come on, not everything I say is for everyone. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at Comic Story and on Instagram at Comic Story, and I'll see you guys next time right here. Aquaman rules a nation and belongs to the Justice League. This brings with it its own set of challenges. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues, and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. As the morning sun begins to rise, Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, looks out from his lighthouse with his fiancée, Mera, preparing for the big day. Today will hopefully be the day that he can finally make the bridge between the people of the land and the people of the sea. The surface has feared Atlantis, just as Atlantis has never trusted the surface. And thanks to his dear brother Orm, the surface has plenty of reason to fear Atlantis. Mara tells him he'll be fine. She's proud of him for what he's doing, and she'll be with him every step of the way. But as they go back to their lighthouse, someone watches them from afar. Later, on the Atlantean dry land embassy, Spindrift Station, people and reporters begin to arrive, but among them is Joanna Stubbs of the Royal British Navy to take her position as the British Navy liaison to Atlantis. Everyone has a chance to enter the embassy, and then they hear a voice call out to them that it is an honor for them to be here today. Arthur continues stating that his name is Arthur Curry, or as the world calls him, Aquaman. And welcome to the Atlantean Embassy. He wanted to bring the world press and international agencies here today to give them a tour of the Spindrift facility and answer any questions that they may have. This will be a meeting point, a place to learn about one another, but first, they must eat and enjoy themselves. As Joanna and Ray Delane, a reporter for the Daily Planet, look at the hors d'oeuvres, Ray begins to ask, what is this, some kind of shrimp? An Atlantean guard tells him that it's a lockway, something that they would call a sea slug, and Ray begins to gag, asking where the restroom is. After running off, Mara begins to tell the guard that he should go check on Mr. Delane. She would rather not have a bad TripAdvisor over their food here. The guard goes to check on the man, and he finds him hunched over in a hallway, and that's when he notices something along the walls. As he looks closer, he finds explosives, and then his head is slammed into the wall. Ray says that there is really no Ray Delane, and then his body begins to change as he stabs the guard in the neck. Suddenly, back in the conference room, explosions begin to go off and the aquatic compartments begin to pour in. Mara holds the water back from flooding and tells Arthur to find the culprit. But as Arthur leaves, a figure begins to appear from the water, shooting Mara, stating, of all the things he could lose, she will hurt him the most. Then from the waters, Arthur jumps out with his trident, stabbing Black Manta, stating, you will never stop, will you? And Manta asks him, would you if I had murdered your father? And the two begin to fight back and forth. Black Manta manages to stab Arthur, telling him, what you're trying to do here. You're deluded. The world is afraid of you as they should be. And I have come here to end the war. As Arthur falls back, Black Manta tells him that it's time for round 2. And then he clicks that detonator, setting off more explosions around the entire facility. Arthur then tells Joanna to take Mara out of there. And then his back is slammed against the wall, stabbing the spear through him into the wall. Joanna asks what he's doing, and then Arthur pushes forward, pulling himself through the spear, and he tells her, go! Arthur jumps back into the fight, telling Manta that his father was no innocent, and God knows that he isn't either, but killing his father was the worst mistake that he's ever made as Aquaman. The boy who killed your father was not ready to be Aquaman, but Aquaman could not exist without the burden of that mistake. This endless feud achieves nothing, and Manta asks, nothing? Just look at what I've done. I've crushed your dreams. I've shamed you in the eyes of the world, and I've sundered any hope of a union between Atlantis and the surface. But as Manta stands over him, stating, no one walks away from a blood feud like ours. Arthur tells him, if you choose to stop, but Manta tells him he won't.
I need to knock that over. So yeah, guys, that is the first part of the inking that I'll do. I've now done the whole thing. I've obviously not shaded the whole thing completely with this black pen, but I've added in the furry details that I want to do when I color it in, because I'm going to get rid of all of the shading that I did yesterday with pencil and just leave what is left with the pen now. So when I go to the point where I'll be coloring it in, all the colors will show up, and I'll be able to use those tones instead of the tones that are on the page now. Because what I've noticed in the past is when I leave some of the shading there, it makes it too dark, or it just doesn't blend very well. So what I'm going to try and do is get rid of all of the fur that I did in pencil, and then color that back in with either another Sharpie pen, or I will be using my Copic marker brush pens, or the felt tips, which you guys have seen. They're double-sided. They're a bit shit, but they actually do quite well for sort of putting down a decent, nice color. But they are, again, a Copic marker ink, but the quality of the pen isn't as good as my brush pens. But the brush pens are running out. That's why when I got those, that was last year. I'm thinking of investing in getting some proper professional Copic markers. There are some Copic marker off brands which I might look into before I go really delving into the great beyond, which is the color system that they have for Copic markers. My God, because you can blend them really, really well on every piece of anything you want to color it in. They work really well. They are the next step, and I will be going to that step very soon throughout the year. So yeah, guys, let me know what are you think are the best brands to buy for Copic markers, and we'll get some and sort of have a test to see what they do for what I've already got. Because I have got, like I said, I've got Copic marker pens. They're just not the bestest grade. They're closer to the felt tip than they are actual Copic marker sort of tips and things. Brush pens are really good, but again, the brush pens here are running out. And they are very dark. We might be using be able to use the orange out of this and sort of get rid of some of these so I can refill this and get more colors. I'm going to go checking out what's online, but I want to see what's in my local shops first because you can always get a good deal up there. I'm all about deals because I'm still an artist and all this, but yeah, hopefully you'll have enjoyed this. Let's get you a zoom in and show you what I've done. There obviously isn't much difference at the moment as I've not got rid of all the construction lines, but you can see more darker depth what I actually did draw in the first time. I wish I never did that here. It's looking very dark, but we'll try and sort of incorporate that somehow with the colouring, which I'll do tomorrow, guys. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to see that this coloured in. I'm going to add a few little details because I did add some bubbles afterwards. I might do those in a moment and see what I can do there. But the main part of the animal is done. And again, guys, it is a combination between a duck, a cat, and a whale. So let's see how we've done. So now it's looking with some ink on it. Obviously, still got the basic shape of a duck. You'll see more of the duck sort of come through as I come to the colouring part as well, guys. But if you know a duck has that circle around its eyes and has a beak, which is its bill, but I try to keep that little nib, which a duck also has on the front of its eye. I don't even know what that is. I used to think it was a nose, but it's, I don't know, maybe it's a protective thing. But yeah, they have their snout, so their beak. This has a snout because it is a cat. I tried to keep a cat as much as possible in the face as well as the duck because I thought duck would be a bit too much. The cat, I'm trying to incorporate in each part to incorporate a piece of each animal, which is obviously quite tricky. Obviously, a whale doesn't have her neck, but a duck has quite a long neck because you can see it dipping into the water when it feeds or cleans itself or whatever it does when it does that. So I try to keep, kept with the neck there. Yeah, I was going to do just a face here, but I thought no, it wouldn't look quite right, and maybe just like a lengthy cat with a beak, but I don't think it would look right. I wanted to keep the neck and make it change it from a whale and get it to a duck. So we've got it to a duck with a furry face. It's a bit strange, but it's what it is. It's a mutant. And then we get to the whale part of it, which is the main body of it. I wanted to keep the blowhole in there because it's obviously a whale and it's going to be underwater. I thought maybe we could keep off that, but I wanted to put it in there because I wanted to keep it as a whale type thing. And then it come across to the fins. Again, I told you at the beginning they weren't just wings. I wanted to incorporate as much as I could from both all three animals as much as possible. So I kept with the fin, but I gave it like a feathery tail off to the fin, so you can sort of as he floats, he flaps the sort of things. Trying to figure out how that would work out, and I think sort of maybe they could be quite strong wings because he's not going to be flying. He's going to obviously under the water, similar to a penguin, I suppose, which we did last week. So it was quite good to have this one sort of to be able to keep in the area of water and things like that. But again, we had last week, I had a lion. This week we have a house cat, which is why it's so fluffy, and it's going to be sort of a tabby kind of color, orangey, sort of tabby tomcat sort of color. But we will be keeping the wings. Again, I wanted to give it a bit of a feathery look, so I kept with the design going into the sort of towards the blowhole and make that a focal point to sort of make the wings or the feathers the back of the sort of give them a hunchy sort of thing. This is what I've tried to do up here. Give them shoulders, but without taking away from the whale, which sort of worked, but it's just a flat image to me. I might try and create this one in VR, actually. In fact, guys, having an idea as we speak to you, I will try next month to maybe not draw, but do VR art instead. And try and create all of these. Maybe I'll do that off stream, and maybe I'll make another video out of that. But I do want to do some drawing, so let me know what you want to see next month, because I have about 2 or 3 ideas, but most of them do in coming towards Spider-Man, because I'm a huge fan. And but that game has finished, so I'm trying to keep off that now and change my style again, which is why we're doing animals. And then we get to the pretty cat legs. I want to give him like a back legs. Obviously, a little cat or house cat is little, but when it gets older, it gets bigger, but to the size of obviously a house cat. So I don't want to give him big muscular legs like you would have on a lion, as I don't really see a point of having legs. But I couldn't think of anything that really stuck out like cat and made it not just a fluffy whale than claws on a cat. So I put those in and added the claws and paws, and underneath the paw you've always got the padded bits. So I tried to sort of give off that sort of in the cartoony sort of sense, to give it something like that. And then we obviously I did the wings there, and then we get to the tail, which again I thought having the actual tail on a bend, on a curl, as it's sort of flecking into the water, because the whale does that. As it's going up, it sort of goes back down and slicks up its tail and flicks water. I have no idea why it does that. It could be to do what the weather's like. It could be something to do with look at me, look what I can do. I don't know why they do it. Let me know if you do in the comment section, guys. I know why they flip their tails up in the air. Obviously, I know why they go up, but maybe it's just to do with buoyancy and they're just sinking down. Who knows? But try to keep. Gotta get the fluffy. When I think here, I got to the point where I thought to myself, woolly mammoth. What would a woolly mammoth fur be like? Because it's a big animal, quite blubbery, kind of similar to a in size ish to a elephant, or a mammoth to a whale. So I thought to myself, okay, how would that look? And that's why I've gone so really sort of in depth and furry up here. I kept the whale's tail. It's having a curl. He's having a bit. I'm trying to put some detail in now for the spray of water, but not too as much as I did for when I did paper, because I didn't like it. I just kept adding more and adding more and adding more, and it just looked worse and worse. So I'm keeping it very fine and fluffy here for the just basic gesture lines for the spray, should we call it, as he's delving into the water. Again, we do have him coming out. And I did originally have water spurting out the top of his head, and that just looked stupid. Wanted it sort of thing. And then, but when I thought again, it's a duck. A duck does sort of duck down and then comes up with its head and then floats on top again. So I think that's the kind of how the animal will sort of get around, is it sits on top and sort of uses its tail to flap around. Maybe it's just it keeps its head above. Who knows? I'm actually going too high. Sorry. Keeps his head above. It's an animal. I've just been trying to think how it would work if it was real, but I don't think we've gone too badly. I'm not sure if I should add in the wording here. I might do that after or during the colouring in stage, because I like the saying he's saying, just keep swimming up there, as you do in Dory. But then I put this little bull camera ship, because obviously it's the size of a whale. It could be anything. Originally was a camera, as in this is a mutant animal and they're not obstructing. What's the word? Observing this. So I'm going to add that in because I really, really like that being there as a thing. And I'm going to add, if you can see here in the bubbles, he's saying make sure you get my good side, but all in different bubbles as it goes down. I will add more detail to that because again, I like that. And I'll put the wording up here, but all the little, as you see, little gesture lines, that's what really sort of made me want to keep it, because I was just doodling towards the end of yesterday when I was off stream. I was like, this was my little warm up sort of item before I started going off, and I thought, yeah, I'll keep that. So I'm going to keep that there as a camera to sort of make it a whole scene instead of just an actual animal of 3. And again, guys, if you have enjoyed it, my name is Blute084. We're going to be listening to I can never say that name properly. Comic Storian in a moment to finish off some more of this and get on with a little bit more. I'm adding details, and tonight I'll be gaming. Not sure what I'll be playing, but I'm trying to get everything done so I don't have to spend so much time tonight sort of finishing up. So yeah, hopefully you are enjoying it, guys. If you are, leave a like. My name's Blute084. BLUT084.
Ever. Arthur tells him if that's the way it must be, then I will end this.
And
he
games.
grabs his trident and begins slashing away at Manta, knocking his helmet off and pinning him to the wall. Manta tells him, go on, do it, damn you. Kill me, and you will forever be tarnished for killing me. But if I kill Aquaman, I will avenge my father. So either way, morally or literally, Aquaman loses. Aquaman lowers the trident, telling him, fine, then kill me. And then what? Being Aquaman means that I have a life, one with meaning. You, though, if you kill me, you'll be left with nothing. Nothing I can do to you will ever be enough. Manta remains silent, and he throws down the trident, and Arthur says, you're empty, and I'm truly sorry for you. You miss your father every day, and I'm sorry that I took him from you. A short while later, the military arrives, and they arrest Black Manta, and they take him away. But during the car ride, an explosion goes off, flipping the transport with Manta. He crawls out asking, who the hell are you? And the woman tells him, we could be friends. We have mutual interests. So let's go find out where this can lead. The next day, Commander Merc of the Atlantean Royal Guard is stopped from entering the embassy. The military tells him that they are securing the area, and Arthur appears asking what seems to be the problem. Merc says that this wretch is barring us from entering, and Arthur stops him, telling him, stand down. What is going on? The man says the State Department revoked the embassy status at 6 this morning. Their orders are to let no one into this former embassy, and right now, they don't want an incident. Arthur assures him, there won't be one. Are you really that afraid of us? And the man says, we don't want to be, but we have our reasons. Boston, New York, Metropolis. And Arthur then asks, who do I speak to about this then? Elsewhere, in an abandoned airfield in Maine, Black Manta sits with a woman known as Blackjack, and she tells him that they are with Nemo. She tells him that he put on quite a show yesterday, single-handedly taking down the Atlantean embassy. It's just a hunch, but she assumes that he really doesn't like Aquaman, does he? Manta says that he's still waiting for an explanation, and Blackjack says, well, she's come to make you a job offer. Nemo can use you and your talents, so we're going to go ahead and uncuff you now. Manta shakes his wrist as the cuffs fall off, stating, thanks but no thanks. I can get them off myself. He then gets up, hitting one of the guards and kicking the other one away. While he continues to fight off the guards, Blackjack tells him, a man of your capabilities just seems like a damn shame wasting them on an obsession like vengeance when you could be doing so much more. Manta stops, asking, what did you say? And she tells him, Nemo has no love for Aquaman, but he is right about some things. We should have a proper conversation. If things go well, you can meet the boss. Over in Washington, Arthur and Mara meet with the Chief of Staff, Mr. Gantry of the White House. Arthur says that he is here to request the reinstatement of the diplomatic status of Atlantis and the resumption of the dialogue between their two nations. Closing the embassy this morning was not a friendly act. Mr. Gantry says, listen, Your Majesty, but relations have never been good, and that's a shame. During your people's struggle for the throne of Atlantis, cities in the U.S. mainland suffered massive damage and lost many civilian lives. But while they're continuing their discussions, out in the South Atlantic aboard a U.S. ship, an explosion goes off. While some of the crew members try to evacuate the passengers, one of them sees a shadow looming over them, and then that shadow shouts, in the name of Atlantis, the deluge sweeps you away. Back in the White House, the agents enter the conference with Arthur and Mara stating that he's sorry, but he's arresting Aquaman under the Patriot Act for crimes against the U.S. 32 minutes ago, a U.S. ship had lost all hands in the South Atlantic, and the ones responsible for the attack is being claimed by Atlantis. Arthur is then cuffed, and Mara tells the agents to stop, but Arthur tells her not to do anything. This was a mistake, and we will prove it. Don't do anything rash, Mara. She asks if he just expects her to watch as they drag him away in chains, and he tells her, that's exactly what I expect you to do. After Arthur is taken away, Mara contacts Tula, the regent Arthur appointed while he was away, to explain the current situation. Tula tells her that she understands how much she would like to lash out and free their king. However, he is going to try and forge peace with this land. Mara slowly begins to calm down, and then she asks if they're investigating what the Americans are claiming, which Tula tells her she is working on right now. As the call ends, Captain Saran reports that the Drift, the elite Royal Atlantean Guards, are approaching the wrecked ship now. Burke reports over the radio that they are now accessing the shipwreck, and upon looking at the damages, they can determine that Atlantean war tech was used to bring it down. And while looking into it further, Merc finds an Atlantean war sword stuck into the ship, but This is a 5th Dynasty sword, an heirloom blade. No Atlantean soldier would ever leave it stuck in the hull of a ship. Whoever did this deliberately left it to leave a mark, to indicate responsibility and discredit the Atlantean people. But before the investigation could go any further, Merc hears someone calling out to them, and when they look up, they see a group of American Special Forces. The soldiers tell them to submit immediately, and Tula tells them to break away and withdraw. Do not engage. And then the radio goes silent. Down in Arthur's holding cell, an agent asks what exactly is the deluge, and Arthur tells them that they are a terrorist group, or rather were, the Atlantean xenophobes, but he shut them down. The agent then mentioned the last transmissions from the ship mentioned the deluge among Atlantis, and if the Atlantean radicals acted outside of his control, Arthur, realizing what's going on, tells them that they must let him go. They were intending to attack the U.S. mainland. If you leave me locked up in here, there isn't anything that I can do to stop them. However, behind the guards, Mara bursts through, knocking the guards out, stating that she decided she doesn't like being here in Washington, and she'd very much like to go home now. Arthur tries to tell her that she can't, but she rips the cell door off, telling him shots have been fired. Atlantean and the U.S. forces have engaged. It's not by you, it's not by me, and not by Tula, but the war is about to break out. As the two of them run out of the cell and exit the jail, Arthur begins to ask which way is the closest body of water, and Mara points, stating 8 miles in that direction. Arthur asks, that way? Because in front of them, the entire U.S. military begins to surround them. The military then receives word that they can go in hot, and they begin opening fire on Arthur and Mara. Mara begins to avoid the bullets, and she jumps onto a tank, ripping its cannon off. The soldiers then tell her, holy crap! And Mara says, good day. And she punches him, then tosses the cannon at one of the helicopters. Arthur then leaps in to catch the falling helicopter, telling her, no one dies today. After setting the helicopter down, the two begin fighting off the military in non-lethal ways and just knocking out any soldier in their path. But while Arthur and Mara attempt to escape, down in Atlantis, Captain Saran reports Merc and the Drift managed to escape from the American Navy, but they intercepted the U.S. transmissions. Their king and Lady Mara are now under attack by significant U.S. military forces. They have been ordered to kill them. Tula tells them to mobilize the war fleet. Over in Antarctica, after some convincing, Blackjack takes Black Manta to see their leader, the Fisher King. He says Blackjack says that he would make a fine addition to their inner circle, and Manta asks if he's the Fisher King. The Fisher King responds with yes, but it's just a title. I'm really Lord of the World. I hold power and influence beyond your imagination. So tell me why I should give you a share of that. Manta tells him, you're thinking too small. I can show you how to think much bigger. Back in Washington, the U.S. forces continue to pursue Arthur and Mara, and they continue forcing their way through the forces. But as Mara rips off another gun turret, Arthur tells her to stop. Mara looks up and says, oh. And Superman tells her, that's some pretty good advice. I think we should talk about this now, Arthur. Superman says that he just spoke with the president, and whatever this is, it's going to end right now. Arthur looks at him stating, the president of the United States believes that I'm an international terrorist, an enemy of the state, and now it seems that you have become their enforcer, Superman. Superman tells him no, the president did call him, but he came voluntarily to help. He was told about the situation, and right now he just wants to resolve this. Arthur turns away, stating, if you trusted me, you wouldn't be standing in my way. Then as he tries to walk away, Superman grabs his shoulder, telling him, you can't leave. Arthur asks him, I can't leave? I am a king! Then he swings both of his fists, cracking Superman in the face, launching him away. Superman then punches him back, stating, I won't step aside. Let me come to Atlantis with you. Perhaps you need help. Then Mara runs in, punching him. He already has help. Arthur and Mara begin attacking from both sides, while Arthur says that he's tried to get past it. The beloved Trinity, that is Superman, Diana, and Batman. The loyal and true trio, Lantern, Flash, and Cyborg. Then there's him, the Molewark, the Black Sheep. That's how he sees himself being seen among the Justice League. The punches continue to fly, each side knocking each other away, and then Superman grabs Arthur by the arm, slamming him into a tree, telling him that they have a responsibility to demonstrate the Justice League is not above the law. Just come with him now. They can even call the League in to help. But Arthur kicks him away, asking, why? So you can undermine the hell out of me? I'm the one that needs to do this. For the good of Atlantis, I have to fix this. I am their king. Please, give me the chance to show what that means, or there's no damn point in me existing at all. Darkness begins to cover the battlefield as the entire Atlantean war fleet arrives. And Superman asks him, so, peaceful intentions, huh, Arthur? Arthur tells him, don't be an idiot. Their king is under attack. And then Superman asks him, what are they waiting for? The Atlantean army stands ready, and Arthur says, they're waiting for me to say attack. Arthur then holds his hand out, telling Tula to hold her fire. They're done here. He has stopped this war, and now he's going to prevent the next one. He then asks Superman, are you going to stand in my way? And Superman tells him, fix this, or else. Back in Antarctica, the Fisher King laughs, telling Manta that he must think by joining Nemo that he may have a say in how things work. However, Nemo's agenda has been set for decades. Everything we've done, will do, is a carefully structured program of global manipulation. No newcomer, however talented he is, will come with radical ideas and disrupt our intricately designed program. You could be an asset to us, but you will be an instrument. Manta says that he's never
Okay, it's
served
time
anyone, and the Fisher King
to get rid of
get used to it. With a sudden
all
lunge, Manta
of that
slices
sketch
the Fisher
lines
King's
and
throat,
get rid of the
Blackjack
construction
shouts, "What the
lines
hell are you doing?" And Manta takes the throne,
and see
telling
what
her,
we're left with.
"Long
I've
live the
done
king." Any
all of the
questions?
extra little
Back
details
over in
down here.
Atlantis,
He's saying
as
make
Arthur
sure you
and
get my
Mara
good
head back
side
to
for
Atlantis,
this
Mara
camera,
asks if he
which
was
is
really just threatened
sort
by
of taking a
Sulu,
picture.
and Arthur tells her yes. She asks
And then
if
we've got him
serious,
saying
and
just
Arthur
keep
says,
moving up the top here.
"Absolutely. It means
I
that
added in a
really
little
have
bit
to
more
fix this. I
water
have not
fluff
been this
as it
excited
was
about
coming
an
off.
Aquaman storyline since the start of
Drips
the new
maybe.
52. It's an amazing story, and I
I'm
love
not
the
going to do
direction
any
they're
sort of
going with
wiggle
this, but
lines
it's
here. They
actually
may
this
need to put
storyline
them
that
in,
got
but
me
I
to
probably much
reconsider
don't
reading
doubt
political
that.
storylines, which is how come I started enjoying the Black Panther storyline. So basically, I'm reading those kinds of stories now. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as
Just let
I
them
did. I
sign
can't wait to
themselves
see where this is going to go. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Storian and Instagram at Comic Storian, and I'll see you next time right here.
Yeah, so we're done. I'm going to get rid of all of these construction lines that I put underneath. You probably can't see them, but you will soon see why I get rid of them, as you'll see the actual picture sort of come back to life. Or I'll say come to life. I'll say more prominent, because what you can see is a lot of detail, but there's not as much as you would hope. So I'm going to get rid of all of the little construction lines, the shading as well, on fins at least, and get rid of these over the wings. For all these lines here, I'm really trying not to keep much of the construction lines, because I want to get rid of those. I'm just going to rub out a lot of what's there. My neighbour's moving around outside. Right. Get rid of all of those lines. You'll see the difference now where I left that shading with the pen, where I've gotten rid of all the construction lines. Again, all the construction lines I'm getting rid of from underneath, which is why I ink it, guys. It just gives it sharper edge to it, gives it sharper sort of look to it. Let's get rid of those as well. There, you get to really see what I have done, and I get to see what I've done as well, because the construction lines get a bit fuzzy, makes things that a bit harder to see all the detail that I've just put in with the pen. That's why I like to get rid of a lot of it. Just where it is a different color, at least, because some of this I could keep for the fur, but maybe get rid of some of that there as well. Really see where I've done, not completely getting rid of it, just ever so slightly going over with the rubber, or the eraser as people call it. Get rid of everything really. Let's go it. You can really see what I mean. That's quite dark there. I haven't put much extra lines there, so let's gently rub that. Get rid of the pencil, but not completely, because I want to keep some of it, but I will get it off the ear there, because that ear is really dark. You can see it dark, but it's not as dark now. Get rid of all of that. Let's get rid of some of this. I'll give you a zoom in, guys and gals. Could have done that a long time ago. Why didn't I do that? So there we go. This is the animal which we've created this week, which is a mutant between a cat, a whale, and a duck, which I didn't think would work out quite well, but more and more I did, better it looked, or better it looked to me. But now you can see what I mean. We're taking away all of that real dark pencil. You can left with the fur effect that I've got again, which has been quite a bit of a theme really going through these weeks, because people always seem to pick an animal that is furry, which is all better for me, gets me learning it a bit more. I don't know if you can see, but the tail is there, and this is up here, is sort of a bit of a spray. We've got spray as the water. I'll put different colours there, maybe put a bit of pencil to sort of get things going. And put the sayings in, which I'll zoom in a second so you can see everything as I've done. I think I'm completely done now with the pencil. Sorry, not pencil, with the inking part of this. And it's looking damn tidy to me. What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comment section. How have I done? And again, thank you to the Art Hutch. Again, hopefully I've got his name right. He is the one that requested the duck, whale, and cat. He's also an artist, so go and check him out, guys. He is on Instagram. You can find him via my Instagram, or you can ask me a comment down below, and we'll get it done. The writing there is actually coming backwards to me. I don't know if you can see that the way it should be, but it's saying, make sure you get my good side, because this over here is the camera. That isn't a sound to me seeing. He's classifying it. Cat and a whale, all different letters. Yeah, we can move up to the middle where the neck is from the face, which I like the face actually. I kind of think it looks cute. And we move to the tabby part. The lighter parts, the parts where I haven't put much fur, or what I think to look like fur, is going to be again a lighter color of the fur. So tabby sort of thing, as a cat has a tabby sort of turtle shell sort of thing going on with their fur coloring. And then we go to the wings, which aren't, again, they aren't just wings, they're whale fins with winged tips. And we go into the body part again. Obviously kept that blowhole. Again, more into get to the legs. Legs, I don't know. I still don't really. They just look out of place, but they're there, and I got them there, and that's how they've been done. We'll move up to the tail. I did like to put the claws in and the part. I did like the pads. I think they look all right because it's a cat there, and it's again it needed a sort of cat piece in there. It's classic nails, claws, whatever for a cat. And we'll move up to the thing, and you see how much I've gotten rid of for the whales colouring, because I haven't. I was just overdid it with the shading yesterday. It looks a lot better now. I've put the ink in there and curled the tail a little bit, so it's sort of flipping as he's flopping. Again, it was a whale. I try to keep this. The whale. What other thing is there a whale than a dumpy shape, potato shape with a fin, huge ass fin? So that's kind of what I went with. Kept the fin because you can't have a whale without a fin. Or back tail, sorry. And then we move over to the little one, which is sort of just swimming past. So I'm not trying to get caught in the camera. I'm saying just keep swimming, moving on by. I'm gonna give you a side view of what it would look like if it was floating around. I should really put another leg in there. Maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Doesn't need it. But yeah, hopefully, guys, you have enjoyed this one. Let me know if you have by leaving a like. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. My name's Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games. Tune in tomorrow for the colouring part of this, where I'll be using pencils, Copic markers, and just Copic marker brush pens. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.